5 years apart, same last name, same Arkansas zip code, and now the exact same nightmare headline. When the eldest Duggar was let out of a federal courtroom in handcuffs back in December of 2021, millions of people who spent years watching 19 Kids and Counting thought the story was absolutely over. They thought the brand had hit rock bottom. They were wrong. Because in the spring of 2026, insider reports are screaming that another brother has been swept up in a shocking arrest. And here is the irony the family will never recover from. The accusations didn't surface from a massive federal investigation. Rumors suggest they came from inside the family's own incredibly tight circle. The very system they built to protect their wholesome image is the exact system that betrayed them. Before we dive into the dark reality of this family's total collapse, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button and subscribe to Daniel Research right now. We read through the grueling court documents, tracked the legal filings, and chased down the insider whispers so you do not have to. Subscribe and turn on notifications because you are not going to want to miss a single update in this case. Now, let's get into the trap that was set and how one brother walked right into it. To truly understand the madness of 2026, you have to look at the catastrophic legal misstep that started it all. The family spent millions on high-powered defense attorneys to fight the feds for years during the previous scandal. They fought every single motion and dragged it out as long as humanly possible. But this time around, reports claim that the brother in question actually admitted everything to the victim's father. Then, he reportedly went straight to local detectives on March 17th and just started talking. No attorney present, no hesitation, just a full-blown confession. The contradiction here is absolutely stunning. This is a family that preaches to their followers to be wise and guarded against the outside world. Yet, he walked directly into a legal buzzsaw and waived all of his rights immediately. That isn't the behavior of an innocent man. That is the behavior of a family so deeply used to covering things up internally that they completely forgot how the real world operates. They thought they could just talk their way out of it like they always do behind closed doors. But detectives do not work for the church. And that brings us to the deafening silence from the top. Where are the parents? In 2021, they immediately released carefully crafted, meticulously worded statements. They went on the defense. But today, absolute radio silence. This is what legal experts call a devastating double bind. If the patriarch comes out and says he supports his son, he instantly looks like he is enabling the most unthinkable behavior imaginable. But if he publicly condemns it, he is forced to admit that his strict, highly publicized parenting method has catastrophically failed yet again. So he chooses to say nothing at all. Insider theories suggest he actually flew his son home from the jail, not to a specialized facility, not to an intense rehabilitation center. He brought him straight back to the compound and hid behind the gates. That silence is screaming at us. They have zero credibility left, because when push came to shove, they chose to protect the television brand over the truth for a second time. But hiding behind the compound gates isn't going to stop what's coming next. The stakes right now are escalating faster than anyone realizes, and the mainstream media is completely missing the financial panic going on behind the scenes. We are talking about massive professional overlap. Reports are stating that the exact same legal team used in the 2021 federal trial is secretly being tapped again. The brother reportedly tried to contact one of those very same attorneys from behind bars. But here is the most shocking detail leaking from family insiders. His wife allegedly warned him with a strict message, telling him absolutely not to talk to that specific lawyer. Why would she do that? Because this legal strategy isn't about finding justice or uncovering the truth. It is a highly coordinated firewall. The lawyers are allegedly treating this severe legal trouble like a corporate data breach, rather than a catastrophic family crisis. They are terrified of discovery. They are terrified of what text messages, emails, and bank records might get dragged into the light. The stakes have dramatically escalated from just trying to keep someone out of a cell to trying to save the entire multi-million-dollar real estate empire. They are burning through cash at an unprecedented rate, just to keep the authorities from looking too closely at who knew what and exactly when they knew it. And what the authorities might find is a pattern so bizarre, it proves this was never just an isolated incident. There is a concrete detail that has completely blown this case wide open. Let's rewind to a police report filed over a decade ago. That old report casually mentioned a very specific, highly unusual protective measure involving exterior door locks installed on a certain room. It was written off as just a weird quirk of the house. But fast forward to the 2026 rumors, and reports regarding the current living arrangements mention that exact same bizarre architectural detail. 11 years apart, two completely different households, one highly specific, identical mechanism for containment. That is not a coincidence by any stretch of the imagination. That is a documented family playbook. When your idea of protection looks exactly like confinement, you are dealing with a deeply systemic problem. This single detail is the absolute knockout blow to the family's favorite excuse. They can no longer stand in front of a camera and claim they didn't know what was happening. The blueprints of their own homes prove they knew exactly what they were dealing with. And they built literal hardware to hide it, rather than getting actual professional help. This instinct to hide everything reveals the deepest, most fatal flaw of the entire family structure. Let's talk about that ride home from the jail. Rumors suggest the arrest didn't even happen in Arkansas, but all the way down in Florida. Bail was reportedly posted to the tune of $600,000. And immediately after walking out of those heavy doors, he didn't go to a lawyer's office to prepare a defense. He didn't go to a professional crisis center. He flew right back home with his father. This exposes the core behavioral flaw of this entire empire. Their first, second, and third instinct is always containment. Bring the massive crisis inside the four walls where the narrative can be strictly controlled. They did it years ago, and exclusive theories suggest they are doing the exact same thing right now, in 2026. But you cannot contain these kinds of serious state charges. You cannot stuff a recorded confession back into the box. This obsession with controlling the optics, instead of addressing the sickness, is exactly why the entire family structure is currently collapsing in real time. They are trying to apply a public relations fix to a criminal nightmare, and it is backfiring spectacularly. The public relations strategy that kept this family afloat for over a decade is officially dead in the water, and the contrast between the past and present is glaring. If you remember the golden years of their television reign, their go-to move for any controversy was the highly orchestrated emotional appeal. They would sit on a couch in prime time, tears welling up in their eyes, quoting scripture and begging the public for grace. They sold an image of a flawed but ultimately righteous family working through their trials with faith. But exclusive theories are currently circulating that this old playbook has been entirely abandoned because they know nobody is buying it anymore. Instead of tears and televised interviews, there is just a cold, calculated void. And what makes this silence so incredibly damning is the contrast coming from the very people who managed to escape the compound. Insider reports claim that while the patriarch refuses to issue a statement, estranged family members are completely done playing by the old rules. Jill, the daughter who famously walked away and even took legal action against the family empire, reportedly released a statement that sent shockwaves through the remaining loyalists. There were no Bible verses. There were no excuses. She allegedly stated that she strongly condemns the accusations and fully supports the rule of law. Definitive break from the family's notorious culture of sweeping things under the rug. This inauthenticity is exactly why their empire is crumbling. The emotional appeals of the past have failed because the public finally sees them for what they are: carefully rehearsed performances designed to protect the brand. The fact that the only person showing any real moral courage had to literally sever ties with her parents to do it tells you everything you need to know about what happens behind closed doors. Rumors suggest that the family text chains are currently exploding, with siblings being forced to pick sides in what is rapidly becoming an all-out civil war. Some are reportedly terrified of losing their inheritance or their housing if they speak out, while others are supposedly consulting their own legal counsel just to distance themselves from the radioactive fallout. And they have every reason to be terrified, because the geographical location of these new accusations changes the entire game. This brings us to the thematic hypocrisy that is going to completely destroy their defense in court. You have to remember, this family built their power in Arkansas. That was their friendly territory. They had deep political connections, they knew local law enforcement, and they operated in a bubble where their celebrity status actually meant something. But these new accusations? These reports state that the arrest and the alleged incidents took place down in Florida. And Florida is not friendly to Arkansas. This is a state notorious for aggressive prosecution and zero-tolerance policies when it comes to the specific accusations on the table. We are talking about strict, unavoidable, mandatory minimum sentences. For 2 decades, the Duggars traveled the country preaching that the outside world system was corrupt, selling their traditional values to the Bible Belt as the ultimate moral high ground. They genuinely believed that their Christian celebrity status would serve as an impenetrable shield. But the thematic hypocrisy here is staggering. A Florida prosecutor, standing in front of a jury of 12 regular people, could not care less about TLC ratings or how many books you sold in 2012. The law does not care about your television show or your highly publicized purity rings. In a jurisdiction with strict mandatory minimums, the formula is terrifyingly simple. A recorded confession plus serious accusations equals an extended stay in a state facility. Their moral authority completely evaporated the exact second they crossed state lines, and legal insiders are whispering that the defense team is currently in a state of sheer panic, trying to figure out how to maneuver in a courtroom where their last name means absolutely nothing. There is no local judge they can invite to dinner. There is no local sheriff they can charm. They are completely exposed to the harsh, unforgiving reality of a legal system that treats them like everyday citizens. And for a family built on absolute privilege, that is their absolute worst nightmare. As the lawyers frantically scramble to file motions and delay the inevitable, we have to look at the reality check that the mainstream media is completely ignoring. Everyone is so hyper-focused on the adults, the lawyers, and the potential prison time that they are forgetting the most devastating part of this entire tragedy. We have to stop talking about the parents for a second and look at the isolation happening to the next generation. Reports state that the victim at the center of these new accusations is now 14 years old, having been just 9 when these events allegedly took place. Think about the sheer psychological weight of that. While highly paid defense attorneys argue over the technicalities of Miranda rights and suppression, motions in air-conditioned courtrooms, a teenager is allegedly preparing to sit on a witness stand and recount the darkest moments of their childhood. And the collateral damage does not stop there. Think about the 7 children belonging to the eldest brother who is already serving a massive federal sentence. They are sitting in their living rooms, watching the news, seeing another uncle get dragged away in handcuffs for accusations that sound terrifyingly similar to what put their own father behind bars. This family is not just isolated by the media or by the public turning against them. They are isolated by their own generational denial. The entire structure was built to protect the adults at the expense of the youth. Whispers from those formerly close to the family suggest that the younger cousins are not allowed to talk to each other about what is happening. The older siblings are supposedly hiding their kids away, desperately trying to shield them from the reality that their entire legacy is tainted. This is what true generational trauma looks like in real time. The children are paying the ultimate price for the sins, the cover-ups, and the extreme arrogance of the fathers. No amount of prayer circles, closed-door meetings, or PR spin is going to fix the psychological damage being inflicted on these kids. They are trapped in an environment where loyalty to the family name is prioritized over their fundamental safety. And the absolute isolation they are experiencing right now is the darkest chapter of this entire saga. And that brings us to the absolute point of no return for this entire fallen empire, and the fast-approaching legal showdown that insiders say will be the final nail in the coffin. Exclusive theories and leaked legal whispers are all pointing toward a massive, desperate courtroom battle scheduled for April 29th. Reports suggest that the high-priced defense team is scrambling to file an aggressive motion to suppress that initial catastrophic confession. Legal analysts tracking the rumors believe the lawyers will try to argue that his Miranda rights were somehow violated, or that he was coerced by local authorities before he understood the gravity of his situation. They are going to throw every single legal loophole at the wall, begging the judge to throw out the one piece of evidence that destroys their entire case. They will try to delay, distract, and overwhelm the prosecution with paperwork. But legal insiders are whispering that it simply is not going to matter, because he already spoke. You cannot unsay words that have already been recorded by detectives. You cannot erase a voluntary admission made to a victim's father. The arrogant assumption that he could just talk his way out of a severe state-level investigation has sealed his fate. The oldest brother is currently sitting in a federal facility with over a decade left on his sentence, completely stripped of the power and influence he once wielded. Now, if these rumors hold true, another brother is staring directly down the barrel of a lengthy stay in a harsh Florida state facility. The parallel is chilling. Two brothers, two vastly different legal jurisdictions, but the exact same dark, undeniable pattern of behavior, and the exact same catastrophic downfall. This is the moment the facade permanently shatters, leaving behind a legacy that is completely unrecognizable from the wholesome, squeaky clean image sold to millions of television viewers for over a decade. The brand is officially a corpse. The massive reality television empire that once dictated cultural trends, published best-selling books, and commanded primetime ratings has been reduced to a cautionary tale. And at the center of this smoldering ruin is the patriarch himself. Think about the poetic tragedy of his current situation. According to insider theories, he is currently sitting inside that sprawling, massive compound in Tontitown, completely isolated. The television network cut ties years ago. The megachurches and political allies that used to court his endorsement have entirely moved on, treating his last name like a highly contagious virus. The massive crowds of adoring fans have vanished, replaced by aggressive internet sleuths and legal watchdogs. His empire is entirely gone, dismantled piece by piece by the very secrets he tried so desperately to keep hidden behind those heavy wooden doors. And the most infuriating part of this entire collapse is that throughout this entire agonizing process, he has never once stepped in front of a microphone and simply said, "We failed." He has never issued a genuine apology for the systemic blind spots that allowed this darkness to fester under his own roof. By refusing to admit failure, by continuously choosing absolute denial over accountability, the family has crossed a threshold from which they can never return. Their last name is no longer associated with large, happy families or strict traditional values. It has become entirely synonymous with the exact, dark, destructive forces they spent their entire lives claiming to fight against. The strict system that was supposed to save them from the outside world is the exact machine that destroyed them from the inside out. Now, I need you to do something for me right now. Head down to the comments and tell me what you think about this massive cover-up. Did the patriarch know about this latest legal nightmare before the March 17th confession? I have been heavily analyzing the leaked filings, tracking the timelines, and reading between the lines of the reports. And I strongly believe that he knew exactly what was happening long before the authorities ever got involved. Tell me if you think I am wrong. Drop your theories in the comments right now, because I read every single one of them. And if you have not subscribed to Daniel Research yet, you need to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell immediately. We comb through the grueling court documents, track the chaotic legal motions, and decode the insider whispers, so you don't have to. You are not going to want to miss the next video, because we are diving deep into the shadowy financial structure behind this latest scandal. I'm going to expose the rumors surrounding exactly who paid that massive bail, who actually owns the properties involved, and what explosive financial secrets the discovery process is currently threatening to drag out into the light. The money trail never lies, and what we are finding is absolutely shocking. Hit that bell. Do not miss it, because this dark, twisted story is far from over.